It was supposed to be a typical morning segment, lighthearted, engaging, the kind of chat millions tune in for over coffee and breakfast. The studio lights were warm, the set bathed in cheerful yellows and soft blues. Behind the scenes, producers gave their final cues. In front of the cameras, Good Morning America was already live. Like before we move on, don't forget to hit subscribe button. This particular morning, anticipation buzzed just a little louder than usual. Samuel L. Jackson, a legend of the screen, a force of presence, was scheduled for an interview. He was in town promoting his latest action film, and fans were eager to hear from the iconic actor whose voice, stare, and no-nonsense attitude had captivated audiences for decades. Samuel arrived calm, collected, and in good spirits. He greeted the crew with a nod, exchanged warm words with Robin Roberts, and shared a brief handshake with George Stephanopoulos. Michael Strahan, the former NFL star turned co-host, was the last to greet him, flashing a wide, easygoing smile. The segment was meant to be short, a brisk interview with a few jokes, some insights about the new movie, and perhaps a comment or two about Samuel's longevity in the industry. No one expected tension, no one expected silence, and no one expected what would happen in the 38 seconds that changed the entire tone of the morning, and, arguably, some careers. As the cameras rolled, the interview began as planned. "Samuel," Michael said, his voice light and cheerful, "great to have you here with us." Samuel smiled, nodded. Michael leaned forward slightly. "Let's jump right in. Your new movie. It's explosive, high intensity, full of action. Gotta ask, at your age, how much longer do you see yourself doing these physical roles?" For a moment, everything stood still. The energy in the room shifted, subtly at first, then unmistakably. Robin Roberts' smile dimmed, just a flicker. George blinked and glanced sideways. The studio audience quieted. Even the hum of the cameras seemed to falter. Samuel didn't respond immediately. His smile faded slowly like a curtain being drawn shut. He tilted his head slightly, not in confusion, but in calculation. "My age?" he said evenly. His voice remained calm, but there was something beneath it, a sharpness that made everyone lean in. "I'm not sure what my age has to do with anything, Michael." Michael chuckled, trying to keep the mood light. "Come on, you know what I mean. You're not exactly a spring chicken anymore. Just saying, maybe at some point it's time to pass the torch to the next generation, right?" Robin shifted in her seat. "Michael," she began, her voice soft but warning, "I think what we're really interested in is how Samuel maintains such amazing energy and commitment to the craft." But Michael didn't stop. He brushed off Robin's comment with a half-smile. "No, I'm just being real. Here," he insisted. "Samuel's been doing this, 40, 50 years? Doesn't there come a time when you look in the mirror and think, maybe it's time to step back?" This time Samuel's expression changed fully. The easygoing demeanor was gone. In its place was quiet steel. He turned toward Michael, his tone deliberate. "Let me clarify something for you. I've been acting professionally for over 4 decades. Yes, and in that time, I've built a career not because of age, but because of skill, dedication, work ethic, respect for the craft. Something you might want to understand before you sit in that chair and question someone's worth based on how many birthdays they've had." The studio air grew dense. The audience let out a few audible murmurs. George leaned back slightly. Robin's eyes darted between her co-host and their guest, clearly uneasy with where things were headed. But Michael, perhaps out of ego or misjudgment, didn't recognize the line he'd crossed. Or worse, didn't care. He lifted his hands in mock surrender. "Whoa, whoa," he said. "I'm just asking questions here. Isn't that what journalists do? Or are we not allowed to be honest anymore?" The tone had shifted entirely now. This wasn't playful teasing. It wasn't curiosity. It was condescension. and Samuel knew it. Robin tried again. "Michael," but Samuel held up a hand, silencing the space with nothing but presence. Samuel L. Jackson didn't raise his voice. He didn't flinch. But when he spoke again, the tone shifted the entire room. "Let's get one thing clear," he said, eyes locked on Michael Strahan. "There's a difference between asking a tough question and hiding behind journalism to be disrespectful." His words hung in the air like smoke. The studio, now uncomfortably silent, was caught between disbelief and suspense. The audience, primed for celebrity charm and blockbuster banter, was witnessing something raw, unscripted, and undeniably real. This wasn't a PR meltdown or a celebrity overreaction. This was a man drawing a line in real time. Michael, visibly trying to reclaim the upper hand, offered a forced laugh. "Samuel, you're taking this the wrong way. I'm giving you credit, man. You've lasted longer in this business than most. I just think people are curious, about how long you can keep this pace." Samuel's brow furrowed just slightly. "And you could have asked that in 100 other ways that didn't sound like a backhanded compliment." Robin leaned forward now, finally stepping in with more authority. "Michael, I think we need to steer this back to the film and Samuel's work. That's why he's here today." Michael shook his head, stubborn. "No, Robin, I'm not attacking him. I'm asking what people are thinking. Is that off limits now?" George Stephanopoulos, quiet until now, subtly adjusted his earpiece, a signal, perhaps from producers backstage scrambling to figure out whether to cut to commercial. But no one moved. No one spoke. Everyone was waiting. Samuel's demeanor remained composed, but the heat beneath his words simmered. He said slowly, "it's interesting. I came here this morning thinking we were going to have a real conversation, talk about a project I put everything into. Instead, I'm sitting here being told to consider retiring, because someone decided age is more interesting than work." The tension wasn't just on set now, it was radiating outward. Clips were already being clipped and shared online by viewers who had been watching live. The GMA social team, behind the scenes, was watching their hashtags turn into potential landmines. Still, Michael pressed on, undeterred. "I didn't say retire, I said think about it. That's not disrespectful, it's honest. Look, I'm not trying to be the bad guy here." Samuel leaned forward, his voice low but firm. "You're not the bad guy, Michael. You're just someone who thinks they can dress up rudeness as honesty and get away with it." That line hit like a hammer. There was a sharp intake of breath from the audience. Robin looked to George, then back to Samuel. For a moment it looked like she wanted to stop the interview altogether. But Samuel wasn't finished. "I've earned my place," he continued, "not by being young, not by being trendy, but by being good. And if you want to ask about endurance or how I stay sharp, I'll answer. But if you're here to imply that I'm too old to do what I love, then you're talking to the wrong guy." Michael scoffed, leaning back in his chair with arms crossed. "So you're really gonna make this a big deal?" Robin's voice broke through again, this time sharper. "Michael, enough." But the damage had been done. Samuel took a breath. Then, in a moment that would become headline news across every entertainment site, he reached down and unfastened his microphone. The soft click of the mic clip being removed felt louder than any argument. He stood up, not rushed, not flustered, just calm, deliberate, and entirely in control. "You want real talk?" Samuel said. "Here's some. Real professionals know the difference between pushing boundaries and crossing them. And real journalists don't try to humiliate their guests for views." He gently set the mic on the coffee table. The sound echoed through the studio like punctuation. Michael sat frozen. No more smugness, no more fake laughter. Just silence. The studio lights seemed suddenly too bright. The once welcoming atmosphere had turned clinical, sterile. a stage where something far bigger than a promotional interview had just taken place. Robin stood, reaching out instinctively. "Samuel, please!" On behalf of the show. Samuel held up a hand. "Robin, I know this isn't on you, and I respect you for trying, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend this is okay." Then he turned to leave. The camera tried to follow, but the director in the control room, sensing the severity of the moment, cut to a wide shot instead. A man walking away from a situation he never should have been put in. Not in his career, not after everything he's done. As Samuel L. Jackson walked off the Good Morning America set, the silence left behind was deafening. The audience, some clutching their phones, others still frozen in disbelief, didn't know whether to clap, gasp, or remain silent. Samuel didn't look back. He disappeared off camera with the same purposeful stride that had carried him through countless roles, interviews, and press tours over decades. Back on the set, the mood was shattered. Michael Strahan remained seated, arms still folded, but the confident facade had cracked. His eyes darted around, toward Robin, toward the crew, toward the cameras, like he was trying to gauge just how badly this had gone. George Stephanopoulos was the first to break the silence. We're going to take a quick break," he said, clearly improvising. The broadcast cut to a commercial, but the real show was still unfolding behind the scenes. Robin Roberts stood up and turned to Michael. Her voice was low, controlled, but tense. "What the hell was that?" Michael shrugged, defensive. "I was asking questions. That's my job." "That wasn't a question," Robin snapped. "That was an ambush, and you know it." A producer appeared at the edge of the set, headset in place, whispering updates as messages poured in from the control room. "Social media's blowing up. We've got hundreds of tweets per minute. People are siding with Jackson." Michael looked genuinely surprised. "Seriously?" "Seriously," the producer replied, eyes glued to her tablet. "You're trending, not in a good way." In the green room, Samuel was met by a flurry of stunned staffers, some trying to apologize, others unsure what to say. He didn't linger. His assistant met him at the door, and within minutes, he was gone. Meanwhile, back on air, the GMA team tried to recover. Robin returned to her seat, her tone noticeably colder as she welcomed viewers back. "Welcome back to Good Morning America. We had a bit of an unexpected moment earlier, and we want to acknowledge that we strive to treat every guest with respect and professionalism. We regret that today's segment didn't reflect that." Michael remained silent. His usual charm and camera-ready smile were nowhere to be found. George picked up the next segment like clockwork, shifting attention to a cooking demonstration, but no one was paying attention to omelets. Online, the incident had already gone viral. Clips of the confrontation flooded TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Fans dissected every expression, every word, every awkward pause. Influencers and media analysts weighed in, praising Jackson's restraint and professionalism, while condemning the interview as tone-deaf and shockingly disrespectful. Celebrities chimed in too. Viola Davis tweeted, "Samuel L. Jackson is a legend. Period. Respect him accordingly." Ryan Reynolds posted a GIF of someone walking away from an explosion with the caption, "When you know your worth, and walk off with grace." Ava DuVernay wrote, "Aging isn't a weakness, it's a journey." Watching this unfold on national TV was disappointing. But Samuel's response? Masterclass. The moment became bigger than the interview. It became a conversation about ageism, respect, and how seasoned professionals are treated in a world obsessed with youth and novelty. Meanwhile, ABC's internal teams were scrambling. Producers met behind closed doors. PR executives drafted statements. Executives reviewed footage frame by frame, already dreading the Monday meetings that would follow. The pressure to respond, and respond correctly, was mounting. Michael Strahan, under fire. Michael, now back in his dressing room, scrolled through his phone. The comments were relentless. He just torpedoed years of goodwill in 5 minutes. What happened to the kind, thoughtful Michael Strahan? You don't disrespect a living legend on live TV. To his credit, he looked shaken. But whether it was from guilt, embarrassment, or fear of the backlash wasn't clear. By that evening, Good Morning America issued a formal statement. Today's interview with Samuel L. Jackson did not go as planned. We deeply value the contributions Mr. Jackson has made to film, culture, and entertainment, and we regret that the tone of today's segment did not reflect the respect we hold for him. We have reached out privately to express our apologies, but for many it wasn't enough. Where was Michael's apology? Where was the acknowledgement that the interview had crossed a line? Speculation ran wild. Was Michael going to be suspended? Would he be forced to apologize on air? Was this the beginning of the end for one of morning TV's most popular hosts? The network remained tight-lipped. Meanwhile, Samuel L. Jackson broke his silence late that night. He posted a brief message on his official account. Respect isn't optional. If I walk into a room to talk about my work, I expect the same professionalism I bring to it. That's not sensitivity. That's standard. The tweet went viral in minutes, racking up over 1 million likes and retweets. The message was clear. He wasn't angry. He was done. The days following Samuel L. Jackson's dramatic walk-off weren't just filled with headlines. They were filled with reflection, reckoning, and the weight of consequences. What had started as a typical celebrity interview had transformed into a cultural moment. The clip of Samuel leaving the Good Morning America set had already surpassed 20 million views across platforms. Think pieces flooded in. News outlets that rarely covered celebrity stories were now discussing respect, professionalism, and ageism in media. And at the center of it all stood 2 men. One revered, the other now reviled. Inside ABC's headquarters, the atmosphere was tense. Executives were furious, not just about the on-air disaster, but about the fallout they hadn't seen coming. Michael Strahan, long considered a golden boy of morning TV with his wide appeal and crossover success, had never been in this kind of public firestorm. His charm had carried him far, from football stadiums to fashion shows, from NFL analyst to anchor chair. But charm couldn't carry him through this. Behind closed doors, meetings were held. Damage control strategies were debated. There were calls to release a joint apology. But Samuel wasn't interested. According to sources close to him, Jackson had made it clear. He wasn't angry. He was disappointed. And done. Michael, now facing growing public criticism and internal pressure, finally released a personal statement 3 days later. I want to sincerely apologize to Samuel L. Jackson for the tone and direction of my questions during our interview. I respect him immensely and deeply regret that our conversation felt disrespectful. I never intended harm, and I'm committed to learning from this moment. The response was mixed. Some accepted the apology. Others called it too little, too late. A few supporters defended Michael, saying the situation had been overblown. But the majority view remained. He had crossed a line, and the damage was done. Jackson, for his part, didn't respond to Michael's statement. He didn't have to. In the following week, he appeared on another network's morning show, one where he was welcomed with warmth and respect. That interview went viral too, not because of conflict, but because of contrast. The hosts joked with him, praised his legacy, and actually asked insightful questions about his latest project. At the end of that interview, the host said, "We're honored to have you, Samuel. You've given so much to this industry, and you're still going strong." Samuel smiled. "That's all I ask for. A little respect goes a long way." That quote, just 7 words, was printed on T-shirts, reposted on social media, and even turned into a trending audio clip on TikTok. It became the unofficial catchphrase of the moment. A little respect goes a long way. In the days that followed, actors across the industry began sharing their own stories. Older stars spoke up about the subtle and not-so-subtle ways they'd been written off, underestimated, or ignored. Women in particular described facing double standards when it came to age and relevance. The media was forced to reckon with its own biases. The way youth is praised and experience often dismissed. Panels were held, articles were written, and slowly the conversation shifted from one man's moment of disrespect to a wider call for change. Morning shows reevaluated their tone. Producers began including sensitivity briefings in pre-interview prep. Talent agents added clauses about host conduct in appearance agreements. The ripples of that 38-second exchange reached far beyond one show. Despite the public apology, Michael Strahan's image had taken a hit. Ratings dipped for GMA. Internal sources claimed advertisers were watching closely. ABC didn't issue any formal disciplinary action, but rumors swirled about reduced airtime and off-camera tension. More noticeably, Michael began appearing less frequently in segments. When he did appear, he looked subdued, more guarded, less playful. The easy confidence he once radiated had dimmed. He wasn't canceled, but he wasn't celebrated either. He was in the long, awkward space between the gray zone where reputation repair is uncertain, and every public word is measured. For Samuel L. Jackson, however, the moment only reinforced what fans had known all along. He wasn't just a phenomenal actor. He was a man who stood tall even when seated, and walked away when it mattered most. His latest film, the one he never got to fully promote on GMA, soared at the box office. In press interviews, he kept things classy, never mentioning Strahan by name. But the message was always clear. His career was built on substance, not sensationalism. At a film premiere weeks later, when asked about the infamous interview, Jackson simply said, "People forget. Respect is a two-way street. If you can't give it, don't expect to get it." Fans applauded. The press applauded. Even some of his colleagues who'd stayed silent during the initial moment came forward to express admiration. Samuel didn't just walk off a set that day. He walked into a larger conversation and emerged stronger, more respected, and more relevant than ever. If you like this video, then subscribe.